Welcome, 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 fourth graders, to your lesson for the birds plot. This is a review lesson. We're going over the plot mountain and the story elements once again. Your objective, I will be able to, meaning you guys, analyze and identify the plot structure of a story of For the Birds and complete the plot mountain notes. And once again, your recap. Anytime we're talking about the plot structure, the story structure, it's dealing with the genre of fiction. The purpose is to entertain. That was the reason the author wrote that story, to amuse us, the reader. We read to enjoy. You always read in order, or you watch the story, the movie, in order from beginning, middle, and end. And it contains the story elements: the characters, setting, and time. The setting is the location, the where and when. The problem is a conflict that the main protagonist character is facing. Then you have your events in order, and then the solution, how the problem is fixed. Don't forget, plot means the events in a novel or a movie. You guys watch lots of movies and read lots of books on epic. Plot is the structure of a story, the sequence of events in a story. The point of a plot is to support a story, to make a story come to life. Said the word story a lot of times. Plot is the telling of these events in ways that create reader interest, meaning it's not boring. The first step in writing and telling a great story is you have to include a setting, the time and place the story's characters live in. How is the setting important to the story? So the reader can visualize, make a vivid image in their head, and experience it. If your readers don't know where or when the action is taking place, they will be lost. It helps because that's where your characters live, and it may show their personalities, what they believe in, their values, and attitudes. The setting can show conflicts and provide context, meaning more information, background on the character. The setting can inform and tell the mood and the theme, the lesson learned. Characters are the people or animals that play an important part in the story's plot. You're going to be watching For the Birds with me in just a bit. And our characters are birds, they're animals. The protagonist is the story's main character, the good guy. The antagonist, the character who works against the main character, the bad guy. The word ant is the first part of antagonist, so I think ants are bad guys. So the conflict is a struggle between the opposing forces. It is the problem the story's main character or characters must overcome, meaning fix. The plot, the sequence of main events in a story. It consists of the plot mountain. Remember, visualize a roller coaster. You go up and up and up, then you come down the roller coaster. So the first part of the plot mountain is the exposition. The author's introduction of the story setting, the where and when, the location, the characters are introduced, and the problem all get revealed in the exposition, the first part of the plot mountain, the first structure of the story. The rising action, as you go up the plot mountain, like a roller coaster, those are the events that build suspense and lead up to the story's climax. So when you get to the top of the roller coaster, that's the most intense. The point in the story where the conflict becomes most intense, the most exciting part of the story. And in the plot mountain, think of it like a roller coaster, then you go down, that's the falling action. The events or actions that lead to the solution to the story's main problem. Then, when you get down to the last part of the plot mountain, the resolution. That is how the story ends after the main problem has been solved and fixed. You're going to be filling out the For the Birds plot mountain story structure notes with me in Seesaw. In Seesaw, you're going to add a response and you'll have the red text boxes and you'll type exactly what I have on my slide. You're going to be filling out the story structure of For the Birds. So let's watch it and then fill this out together. Gonna lower the volume, that way you're able to hear this very well.
Dr. Zoidberg! Hooray for Dr. Zoidberg! Huh?
Alright, so while that video was playing, Cheddar was going crazy because he likes squeaking toys, and all he heard was squeaky, squeaky noises, so he was not walking, he was roaming around trying to find where that sound was coming from. Alright, so now let's look at our plot structure. So at the beginning, the exposition introduces the characters and the setting. So this is the setting right here. We have a telephone line, and this is by the countryside, and our characters are the little birds that are sitting on the telephone line. Then the big bird comes and messes up. So we can tell this is the countryside. We have the field right here. So let's go and at this time go to Seesaw. And I want you to follow along with me. Pause and type in the text boxes. You go at your own pace. So the characters. A lot of little birds sit on a telephone line, and then a big bird arrives. The setting, the where and when, the countryside by a telephone line. So pause and type in your text boxes. So that was the exposition. Then the exposition also introduces the conflict, but we will write that in after we go over our events. So the rising action, what events make the conflict worse? Now, unpause it if you're ready to move on. After the bird arrives, they are scooting over. They're not being very nice. So let's look at event number 1 in the rising action. The little birds all scoot out to the center of the telephone line. So please write that down. That's event number 1 for the rising action. And we know our main problem, before they scooted over, they were mocking him and they were excluding the poor big bird. So what happened after the little birds all scooted to the center of the telephone line? Let's go back and look. So unpause if you're ready for event number 2. If you're still writing, continue to write. You're good. Let's find out what happens after they scoot over. So, event number 2, the big bird sits in the center and makes the phone line hang really low down the middle, like this. Then, still part of the rising action, what happens after this? Event number 3. They're upset. And he is clueless. He's happy. He thinks they are besties. Oh, one of them pecks at him. Oh, and they have an idea. This is event number 3 for the rising action. The little birds peck at the big bird's toes, and they start cheering together. And the big bird starts joining them. He thinks they are having fun. So that is event number 2 and 3 for the rising action. Little birds all scoot out to the center of the telephone line was event number 1. Event number 2, big bird sits in the center and makes the phone line hang really low. And event number 3, as you just saw, the little birds peck at the big bird's toes, then start cheering. So pause and write in the text boxes and seesaw. Now, our conflict, the main problem, the little birds are mocking the big bird at the beginning. They're being mean to him. They're being meanies. And they exclude him, the big bird. And I'm just making a prediction that the big bird is a boy. But I could be wrong. It could be a girl. Now, that's the conflict. Now, after the little birds peck at the big bird's toes and start cheering, what is the climax, the most suspenseful moment? Let's go back and look. So they're pecking at him, it's still the rising action. It's leading up to the most suspenseful moment, the climax in the story. The big bird's last finger slips off, and the feathers fly everywhere on the telephone line. So that was the climax. And let's find out what happens after the climax, the following action, how they start to fix the conflict. This is event number 1. So after the big bird's last finger slips off the telephone line, the little birds all launch into the air, and the big bird is now blowing their feathers. That's event number 1. Event number 2, the little birds land from the sky, and they're all without feathers. They're all naked. They're naked, without feathers. They're all pink. That's event number 2. And the resolution, how this ends, is, let's see what happens. What happens to the little birds? They're hiding behind the bird, the big bird, and the big bird is laughing. Look. This is the resolution. The end. So let's go back and type in our text boxes. So we had our exposition, event number 1, 2, and 3 for the rising action, our conflict, the climax. The big bird's last finger slips off the telephone line, and the little birds lose their feathers in the air. Poof! Then, how do they start to fix the conflict? The following action right after that, event number 1, the little birds all launch into the air. The little birds all fall from the sky naked. And our resolution, the ending, how the main conflict is resolved. Right after that, the little birds run and hide behind the big bird who is laughing. So pause and write at this time. And as you can see, this is the story structure for the birds. And it all goes in order, in sequential order, from beginning, middle, and end. When you're done writing in the story structure of For the Birds by typing in the text boxes in Seesaw, click on the green check mark to turn it in, but please write down the story structure and follow my slides, please write what I have in the red letters. At this time, when you're done typing in the text boxes in Seesaw, you are done with the plot lesson for the birds. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to copy down the story structure on your end in Seesaw. Thank you for watching.